Do people actually buy after coming on a podcast? They sure do. Welcome to B2B On Air. I'm your host, Joseph Lewin, and in today's episode, we're going to talk about how likely is it that somebody would actually buy from you after coming on your podcast. Having the right mindset with your podcast is really important, and the way I like to think about it is to see podcasting as more like networking at scale. If you're going to go to a networking meeting or you go to in-person events, put this in the same category. If you go to a networking meeting and you just try to pitch every single person that you get in front of, it's not going to go super far. It's about being in the rooms where the people that could buy from you hang out. And then when you hang out in those rooms, they get to know you. And when they're ready to buy, then they're going to think of you, you're going to come to mind. Or you go to the events that the people that could buy from you go to, and you hang out, you get to know them, you meet people, and sometimes those deals move forward quickly. Sometimes you see somebody in an event for 3 years in a row, and then when they're in market for what you do, then they already know who you are, they like you, they trust you, and you get an opportunity to be in the running for whatever it is that you sell. But sometimes people are in market. But how often do people actually buy after going on a podcast? Well, let me give you an example. I was selling a podcast launch or live show launch service for a little while, and I can think of this one guy who came on my show. We had a great conversation. We talked for like 30 or 35-minute episode. Then we wrap up, and he starts just immediately going, "So what is it that you do?" And he's pushing me, and I'm kind of like, "Look, I don't really like pitching people after my show." So, and then he's like, "No, I really want to know what you do." So then I was explaining to him about how I help people launch these live shows and the value that they've gotten out of it, and shared a couple stories, and he was eating it up. And then he's legitimately like, "No, I want to buy from you. Like, how do I buy from you? What's the next step?" And again, I was kind of pushing back on him like, "Look, you don't have to buy from me right off of this call." And he's like, "No, I want you to send me a form or some way for me to be able to pay you." And so he waited while I set up an invoice for him, and I sent it over, and he paid for joining a class that I had coming up right there on the spot. So it doesn't always happen that way, but sometimes when people have a need and they hear about what you're doing, they could buy from you. I mean, obviously, if you're selling an enterprise deal or you're selling, something that's complicated, they're not going to necessarily pay the invoice right there. But you can absolutely have people move directly into a sales conversation right after the show. For a lot of our clients, 10 to 20% of people move through into pipeline within a 90-day period. For some clients, it's as high as 25% of people move into pipeline. And so it really is a fairly regular thing to see people actually be in market and be ready to move forward. And one way to get that number up is to be really diligent about your list building. And so if you build a list of people who are a really good fit and you look for some signals of when they might be in market, and then you have those folks on your show, you're so much more likely to see them move faster because they're in market. But at the same time, there's a ton of value in just building relationships with the right people, getting in the right room, and that's exactly what podcasting helps you do. So whether the person's ready to buy now or they're not going to be in market for another 6 to 12 months, you're in the room with them, you're building trust, you're building rapport, you're adding value to them because they might have friends who need what you have, or they might be in market in a little bit, and if you build that trust and rapport, you're able to get the opportunity when it's ready. Thank you for tuning into this episode, and we'll see you on the next one.